This last December, I graduated from college, which means that the days of having a yearly spring break are technically over. So naturally, I wanted to end my college career with a bang by going on a cruise to Mexico with a group of friends. It was a 7-day cruise that took us to Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlán, and Puerto Vallarta. Our first stop was in Cabo San Lucas. Cabo was the only city that we stopped in where the ship didn't actually port, since Cabo doesn't actually have a cruise ship dock. Instead, the ship anchored in the bay and we were taken into Cabo by a cruise ship tender. There are a lot of pretty unique rock formations to see in Cabo, so once we were off the boat, we paid some guys about $11 a person, and yes, there was some haggling, to take us on a boat tour. The $11 also included snorkeling. The ride alone was only about $7. Pretty cheap. One of the most famous rock formations to see in Cabo is El Arco, or the Arch. The Arch is a distinct 200-foot granite arch and a very popular place for tourists to take pictures. If visited around October, the sea level actually drops and tourists can walk along the beach to the arch. Unfortunately for us, that wasn't really the case and we were only able to see it by boat, but it was still really cool to see. Another famous area in Cabo is Playa del Amor, or Lover's Beach. Lover's Beach is also accessible by foot when the water is low, however most of the time people just use a water taxi like we did. From Lover's Beach you can also see another famous rock formation called Neptune's Finger. This formation resembles a finger pointing towards the sky and it's actually a pretty popular dive spot. But the real question that I have is, which one of Neptune's fingers is he pointing? Just on the other side of Lover's Beach is Playa del Divorcio, or Divorce Beach. The two beaches connect and are so named because Lover's Beach is located on the side of the Sea of Cortez and is much calmer, like Lover's may be, while Divorce Beach faces the Pacific Ocean and has much rougher waters, stronger rip currents, and larger waves, all things that may be made in a nasty divorce. We were also shown the window to the Pacific, which is essentially just a cave that goes through the rock, and on one side we have the Pacific Ocean, and on the other is the Sea of Cortez. The driver of our boat got us pretty dang close to the cave. I was actually surprised he didn't hit the walls. He also got us pretty close to the sea lion colony. Most of them kind of just sat there, even as we got close. They've clearly gotten pretty used to humans being around them. We did get a few of them to pose for us while we were there, including this guy that seemed to really want to show off his stuff. The guides also pointed out Scooby-Doo Rock, as well as a bunch of other caves around Cabo. Scooby-Doo Rock isn't really a main attraction, but it was fun to see along the ride. After the tour around the arch, our guides dropped us off for about an hour and a half so that we could do some snorkeling. The place we snorkeled wasn't really the best in Cabo, but for a bunch of people from Utah who rarely get to see the ocean, and for only $4, it was well worth it. There are actually plenty of fish to see, some swimming around in larger pools of fish, and some were hanging out just around the rocks. The ones that weren't in a school were definitely more cautious than those that were. Once we were back on shore, we walked around the city a little bit and bought a couple things from the local vendors. If you've never been to Mexico, one thing that should be noted is that most of the vendors are able to be haggled with a bit. Most of the time we could get our things for about half the price they initially asked, especially if you plan on buying multiple things. The total time that we had to explore Cabo was about 9 hours. We had to be back on the ship by about 7 so that we could take off to our next city, which was Mazatlán. Mazatlán is located in the state of Sinaloa, which is currently rated a level 4 by the US government travel advisory, which means it's currently a do not travel state. However, in Mazatlán it says that travel is permitted in the historic town center and the direct routes to and from the airport/cruise ship terminals. So naturally we rented some scooters for the day and decided to go see the city. While most of the city along the coast is in decent shape, we definitely saw a few areas that looked a little bit more dangerous. A lot of people actually spend their day in Mazatlán on the beach. We found a good area to park our scooters, we walked over to the beach just outside of one of the resorts, and we spent a little bit of time there as well. But eventually we wanted to do something else. We found some guys with sailboats that were willing to take us out to an island just off the coast of Mazatlán. They took us out and let us stay as long as we wanted to for only about $11 per person. The sailboat was a really cool experience, but make sure that if you plan to take a sailboat like the ones we took, prepare to get a little bit wet. Once on the island, we were told about a hike towards the end of the island that took us up to the top. The hike was pretty easy, with only a few steeper areas. I did the whole thing in flip-flops myself, so clearly it wasn't that hard. At the top of the hike was a pretty awesome view of the coast, as well as the ocean. After we got back from the island, we jumped back on the scooters and drove along the coast, exploring the city a little bit, and then went back to the ship area where we were able to do a little bit more shopping. Well, the girls did a little more shopping. We had to be back on the ship much earlier in Mazatlán. We had to be back by 5 p.m. This could be an extra precaution that the cruise line takes to ensure the safety of its passengers, but that was never really confirmed to me, just something that I thought about. Either way, we never really felt like we were in too much danger while we were there. Our last stop was in Puerto Vallarta, which for me was one of my favorite stops. Puerto Vallarta has much more of a jungle feel than the other two cities that we visited. It's currently the winter there, which means the area wasn't quite as lush and green as it is during other times of the year, but the only time that was really visible was when we were driving up the canyon to our zipline tour. There's a variety of different zipline tours in Puerto. We decided to do the one that toured the set of where the movie Predator was filmed. While most of the workers wouldn't let me film much, I was able to sneak a little bit of the footage in while we were walking between the different lines. Each line in the tour got progressively longer and progressively faster. One of the workers even said that one of the lines would reach up to 60 miles an hour. Now, I don't know if it reached a full 60 miles an hour, but it was definitely fast, and our whole group had a blast. After the ziplining tour, our guide took us back down the canyon and took us downtown, where we were able to walk around for a while. We had more tacos, walked around the city a little bit, and caught this amazing view of the sun setting on the ocean. And just before heading back to the ship, we ran across a street vendor selling churros. So naturally we bought 3 full bags, which were worth every peso. Although all 3 cities were beautiful, the 2 cities that I want to go back to the most and spend a little bit of extra time in are Puerto Vallarta and Cabo San Lucas. This entire video was filmed on the camera of my iPhone 10. I was actually pretty impressed with the quality of the camera. Thanks a ton for watching, and don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. And since you're already here, make sure you check out some of my other videos. I'll see you next time.